Hello, welcome to the Forum's online short course in policy engagement. In earlier parts of this series, we talked about engaging with Parliament and government, including submitting findings and recommendations from your research in the form of evidence. But how do you put together an evidence submission? Here are some top tips for how to write one and make it accessible to policymakers. Parliamentary committees regularly run inquiries to inform their work, and government departments hold consultations about how to introduce specific policies. This provides a great opportunity to have influence with your research.
First, let's look at submitting evidence to a select committee. On the Forum website, we have a page where you can find a list of current and relevant select committee inquiries which are currently accepting evidence. You should check this page regularly to see if there are any which are related to your research area. If there are, you can submit written evidence with the relevant web page on the committee website, which will be linked. Parliament has specific guidelines about how to present your submissions, as well as a best practice template. As far as possible, you should try to structure your submission around the questions contained in the terms of reference for the inquiry. However, you may wish to structure your submission differently if you feel it is better presented that way, for example by omitting questions that are not relevant to your research.
Good submissions start with a one-page summary which outlines your research and its recommendations in 4 or 5 points. You can go into more detail about your evidence in the main body of the submission. Committees usually receive many written submissions, so you need to get your main points across in an accessible and useful way. Those reading your submission will probably not be experts in your research area, so use as few technical and scientific terms as possible. The general word limit for written submissions is 3,000 words, but the inquiry's terms of reference may specify one which is shorter. There are strict parliamentary guidelines about formatting, which are flagged when you go to submit your evidence through the committee's portal for the inquiry. If your written submission contains points which the committee would like to explore further, you may be asked to give oral evidence to the inquiry at a later date. The Forum is able to provide further advice about appearing before the committee if you're invited.
Now, let's take a look at submitting evidence to government consultations. Government departments hold consultations when looking at how to introduce new policies and achieve government objectives. These will be published with terms of reference and often specific proposals to be commented on. Typically, consultations last for 12 weeks, but they may be shorter. Like with a committee submission, being concise and using simple, non-technical language is key to an effective consultation response, as is showing clearly how your research can be applied to the problem the government is trying to solve. Again, you should open your submission with a summary of your top points and recommendations so the reader immediately understands the relevance of your research to the consultation. The consultation may wish you to structure your response around a specific list of questions, or you may be able to submit using your own structure.
A summary of open government consultations, which may be relevant to Imperial researchers, can be found on the Forum website, with a full list of all consultations found via the gov.uk link below. It's a good idea to keep a regular eye on these pages to see how your research can feed into policymaking. Once the consultation closes, the government will then consider the responses and at a later date publish its final policy decisions, such as through a white paper, which will then be implemented by Parliament and government. The Forum offers bespoke sessions which can support you in drafting evidence submissions, either to a select committee or government consultation. Please get in touch if you'd like support in putting together an evidence submission.